It's me again. And I'm back from making other videos, as the devs of Nebulous Fleet Command have released the Carrier update, which means I now have to play more Nebulous and watch myself get tossed around by gold rank admirals for another 130 odd hours. Yippee. I'll be honest, I haven't played the game much since I made my first video on Nebulous, because I just couldn't seem to make a fleet that worked. I was constantly getting stomped by pretty much everything. And yes, it's a skill issue, I'm bad, I agree, but it's only fun to lose for so long. I tried again recently with Shelter, cringe I know, but I tried Voxels, and I just got absolutely sat on.
I don't feel so good.
Like, I did nothing for my team other than take up a player slot. It got bad, and I just couldn't stomach it anymore. However, now, carriers exist, and the playing field has been evened. Not everyone knows what's good and what's bad, or how to counter it. You see, that means I have a chance. The time has come for hiding, skulking, and devious deeds with doohickeys, so that maybe, just maybe, I won't be a 12-ton anchor for my team. Likelihood of success? About like 0.3%, but I'm gonna try anyway. As always, this is a joke video, so don't take anything I say as fact, and if I get any information wrong, blame someone else. Firstly, some ground rules. I can't just take a ready-made fleet off of the Discord and use that. I have to make it myself. And secondly, I can't just look up what the meta loadout is and make that myself. I have to make something that works myself and use it in a battle and either draw or win. I can ask how stuff fundamentally works, like you'll see later in the video, but I can't just go, hey, what's the best, and then just use that. I'm not cringe like that. It also wouldn't make a very good video. And so, in my quest for total random asteroid domination, I immediately went to the Discord and asked for help. Yeah, well, that's my own fault there, isn't it? To begin my carrier escapades, I began with Amethyst Squadron, to get a feel for carrier combat and how it really felt to carrier. What is it really like to be a carrier? So I sat at the back of the test range and lobbed bombs at an Axford. Riveting gameplay. Yes, the Axford explodes when hit with a torpedo. You can guess I didn't learn a lot from this experience, but I did get a good grip of the controls, the new munitions, and how to order craft around and what they did. Specifically the bombers. I liked the bombers. I found that bombs seemed to be a bit slow, and things like the R3s and other unguided munitions either got lost or chunked by hard kill, but the size 3 torpedoes did seem to be a bit more consistent. It was at this moment I learned of a new tutorial for carriers, so I gave that a try to learn valuable tactical insight into the weaknesses and strengths of my enemies to tactically terminate their terrible treacherous ships and win a glorious victory tactically and
But you can only simultaneously pre-flight as many craft as you have launch pads and strike down stations. We have 2 large pads and 4 small pads, as well as 1 strike down station on this carrier.
In all seriousness, it did help, and I got some good insight into the whole big craft, little craft, R3 box thing worked, which happened to be enough for me to think I could make my own fleet of epic proportions. I give you Asbestos. 10 bombers and 4 strike craft to defend them. Tons of size 3 torpedoes with command tracking and decoy launchers. These bombs were for saturation attacks. They send off 14 size 3s and just bust their way through hard kill and hopefully hit. For those not in the know, bombers, well, bomb stuff, and are generally large and tanky but not fast or maneuverable. While strike craft, as far as I know, are like bombers intermixed with fighters, not as good as bombing but can still hold a dogfight. And then lastly you have fighters / interceptors. They fight other craft. Dummy. Also, there are 3 sizes of missiles in Nebulous. Size 1s, often small, agile, don't deal tons of damage, but are good for interception missiles or saturation attacks. Size 2s are basically normal missiles, good range, good speed, good damage, can still be used as interception missiles, just an all-round good missile. And finally, size 3s, the chungoids of missiles. Often referred to as torpedoes instead, they're slow, not maneuverable, and can have a good range, depending on how you spec them, but it's often one extreme or the other. Oh, and they also deal a metric shit ton of damage. So I added decoy launchers to my size 3s to try and save them on their slower approach. To test this out, I went into a skirmish game and immediately got mashed because none of my missiles hit. So I went back to the drawing board, and one thing I noticed specifically was my prep time took about 100 years to complete. I needed 7 bombers for my planned attack, which I could only launch 2 at a time. So I asked on the Discord again, and oh look, I actually got a response this time, awesome. So as it turns out, ammo elevators and gear lockers reduce the prep time. Similarly, bombers can only launch from large pads, whereas strike craft and skiffs can launch from the smaller ones. So... Oh no, wait. No, they don't. No. They do. Yep, they do, okay. The fuck is FDTS? What? Anyway, I give you Asbestos Episode 2. It's monitoring time. Yeah, so I found out monitors get hangers, so I added some strikecraft to them for some extra whack to the fleet. Monitors are my beloved, and I will shoehorn them into any fleet possible. I also added some SAMs and figured out 35mm could be used for anti-ship warfare. Anyway, I tested it out against TF Hemlock. It went better than last time, but the bomber's torpedoes just still weren't connecting like I wanted. So I did a bit of investigating, and by investigating, I mean I changed it to radar seeking instead of command, because I don't know how this works, man. I just change stuff till it works. In my second test, I did hit, but not enough to do considerable damage. Hardkill kept taking out most of the missiles, and the ones that hit just didn't do enough damage to take out larger ships, which led me down a massive min-maxing hole for my missiles, and I ended up spending multiple hours in the missile editor and... Oh no. I've become the missile guy. You either die a gun cruiser, or live long enough to see yourself become missile guy. After much testing, forgetting to save, and lack of understanding about the basic fundamentals of the game, I will never learn how radars work for as long as I live. I think I ended up with a fairly good fleet. Asbestos Episode 3. The Final. And surprisingly, it worked pretty well. 4 bombers was enough to get past the hard kill of TF Hemlock, and they didn't get distracted by the chaff either. They wouldn't kill something like a Axford on the first run, but they would cripple it fairly badly. So far, Asbestos Episode 3, the final, was a 1-0. The way it worked was, the bombers would approach with 6 missiles, 4 size 2s called whack-a-moles, and 2 size 3s called pinkies, because, well, it's pink. The size 2s would fire just before the size 3s and overwhelm the defences, and deal some damage. Then, followed closely behind, the size 3s, which had the same range as the size 2s but were slightly slower, would deal the killing blow, hopefully having the hard kill distracted by the size 2s. All of them have decoy launchers, so hard kill is going to shit itself, and hopefully the person commanding the ship will as well. It can be used on anything from a Sprinter to a Solomon. They aren't distracted by chaff, and I'm not telling you how. I don't actually know why. The loadout can be used multiple times, the whack-a-moles are dual purpose, so they can be launched from my ship's SAMs for ship-to-ship combat if needed, and it all fits on one carrier. The monitor's just here for moral support. Oh, yeah, I also gave it some AA missiles too, I guess. I don't know. Boys and girls, I think it's ready. I first entered a match against an AI skirmish, 3v3, Annihilation, on Pillars, because that's the only map we play around here apparently. And it went surprisingly well, even the 35mm got a chance to shine. The missiles connected, stuff didn't die en masse, and surprisingly I wasn't dead floating in space by the end of it. So, I made the executive decision, it was time to bathe the multiplayer landscape in Spiker. The ultimate baptism by fire. Can Asbestos, Episode 3, the final, survive the horrific landscape that is Nebulous Fleet Command multiplayer? I found a spot, apologised in advance, and it began. Oh thank God it's not Pillars. I did surprisingly well. I helped wreck some beamstones, helped bomb a Solomon, and I became the bane of some sprinters. Even the 35mm got some use. It was actually my best ever game. And it was a draw by the way, so that can clue you in on how my other games usually go. I wasn't, for once, a 12-ton anchor. And of course the other team complained about the OSP being OP now. How does it feel to be on the receiving end? Sorry, I almost went goblin mode. But in all seriousness, yeah, it does feel a little bit strong. However, they also weren't running any sort of interceptor craft or AA missiles, so skill-ish. But that was the end of my journey. I made a fleet that actually worked for once, like seriously worked. It's not just Ocellos that somewhat brawl with some smaller shelter ships. It's like actually stuff that works on most things. I just don't get dumpstered in every game with this fleet. I still lost some games obviously. God knows what to do when sprinters in the top corner of a map are marking everything you do and shoot down everything you send at them. But it wasn't every game anymore. It's got craft, it's got missiles, and it's all within 3,000 points. And using this fleet, I finally helped to kill a Solomon. They don't call me the #1 Axfordator for nothing. And what is a Solomon if not a big Axford? I am become Bomber, destroyer of cruisers. I even ended up making a shelter version as well, because for some reason people seem to really want to play OSP now. It's basically the same premise as the OSP fleet, but with Sarissas. Yeah, apparently people use Sarissas now. I was shocked when I learned that too. With these fleets, I can actually play Nebulous now, and maybe somewhat help my team in a reasonable way. That is until carriers get nerfed anyway. So, the update is really good. I encountered a couple bugs, but nothing too wild. Some craft got caught on rocks, or launched their missiles into rocks, and sometimes my craft would launch without all their munitions, which did cost me a game once, and you can guess how I reacted to that event. I don't know if small craft are OP or not. I'm not good enough to make that call, but if I can make it work, something may not be right. But also, maybe, just maybe, I'm maybe, actually possibly, just maybe, getting maybe better at the game. Maybe. Unlikely, I know. But I didn't encounter anyone running any hard counters, so either people haven't changed their fleets yet, or there isn't a hard counter, which in that case, yeah, a change would need to be made, but shrug emoji. I don't know even how radars work, man. Don't take my word for it. Either way, this update gets 4 big booms out of 5. If you're interested, watch some of my other videos. Not the first Nebulous video, I hate that video. It's a bad video. I had to cut a chunk out of the video because it was just wrong. Like, not even funny wrong. Like, if I said, oh yeah, beams are terrible, don't use them. Like, people, like, that's clearly a joke lie. Like, that's a funny lie. But this was the conquest bit. Like, it was just wrong lie. Like, well, not a lie. It was just wrong. It's a bad video. Stop watching.